I can hear you. I can hear you, ma'am.
Okay. And you filed a report, a hate report, requested our care coordination services.
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
Okay. Now, before we talk further, I would like to inform you that this call is being recorded for quality assurance purposes. Do I have your consent to proceed?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is going to be recorded also.
Okay. So you filed a report, a hate incident report on the 1st of September.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, that's where I was directed to at this point. Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's been ongoing. This has been ongoing. That Adult Protective Services have been involved and knew about this starting in March, and they've allowed it, and they've allowed it to escalate. So they have the documentation of a lot of it. They have documentation of an elected official, an LA Can employee who assaulted me July 5th, taunting me. I have endless videos of my neighbor across the street taunting me, harassing me, making disgusting remarks about me, my mental capacity, in front of police officers, being allowed by Carol Sobel and Becky Dennison and LA Can and its other entities. Yeah.
So sorry. So this is regarding what, housing? Is it a housing issue?
This is a major issue that's going on in Venice. I don't know how to explain exactly how bad it is, but no, it's not a housing issue. This is an issue with the county. This is an issue with the city. I'm being allowed to. I've managed to. So yeah, no, I have my landlords who work for Carol Sobel, who are employed by Carol Sobel.
Before we continue, if I may ask you some questions here. May I ask your age?
Yeah, I'm 42.
And may I ask your race?
No.
You decline to answer?
Absolutely, that's completely irrelevant.
Well, because for our report, because this is for a hate report.
Doesn't have to be racial, does it? Does not have to be racial. This is about disabilities. This is about my civil rights being stripped. This is about being harassed and tormented about my disabilities and my mental capacity.
May I ask the age of the perpetrator?
This is an entity as far as a corporation. This is systemically allowed by LA Can Network and its sub-entities such as Venice Family Clinic, Venice Community Housing, and St. Joseph's. This is them systemically, along with Department of Mental Health, Adult Protective Services, for nearly a year now, allowing me to be repeatedly assaulted, threatened, harassed, and tormented because of my disabilities, and because they are in breach.
You said threatened?
Oh yeah, I've been threatened and assaulted repeatedly. I've been assaulted on the property repeatedly, and I can't get in by neighbors and by staff.
And staff of where? Of what agency?
LA Can Network and Venice Community Housing.
LA Can?
Yes, ma'am.
And who else?
Venice Community Housing.
Community Housing. And who else?
I mean that's pretty much it's their other entities below them, but that's the primary issue. That's the main issue of concern. Housing Authority knows this. I had document hacla from July of last year, stating that they understand how dangerous and serious the threat that I'm under, that they're going to address it, that I don't need to keep contacting them. I have records from...
Okay, sir, how about with Adult Protective Services? Do you have an assigned caseworker at this time?
I do. And he's maliciously and intentionally, as a first reporter, failed in his obligation to report. I videotaped and documented him when he came to my home finally, because they closed out complaints in March. I had to have other people in Northern California who are witnessing videos of me getting assaulted call. I've had multiple cases started from other spots in California. When Mr. Alvarez came to my home, first thing he noticed is that I didn't have a bathroom door, which is a result of a second attack by one of their tenants, all the way back in September of last year.
And who's Mr. Alvarez? Where is he from?
Adult Protective Services.
Okay.
And he asked me for documentation of me getting assaulted by the staff member. And he got documentation of citizens talking with Carol Sobel, acknowledging they know that I get assaulted here. He has video documentation.
Carol Sobel, what is her role in this?
Carol
Sobel. Because you're giving me names, but I don't know.
Okay, for sure. I appreciate that. I apologize. I'm autistic, so I appreciate you clarifying stuff with me like that. So Carol Sobel, she happens to be one of the stakeholders in St. Joseph's, Venice Community Housing, lacanetwork, etc.
So Carol Sobel is a stakeholder with who, sir?
With lacanetwork and its affiliate.
lacanetwork.
Right.
Okay.
So that they own Venice Community Housing. They essentially, that entity has basically control of Venice Community Housing.
Okay, how did you get into this housing, this Venice Community Housing?
Right. So what ended up happening, and this is where all of this discrimination comes from. I was originally enrolled in programs. I met them because I had my face kicked in 2018, and I was starving in a park. And I was trying to talk to an officer to figure out where I could safely park my car so I wasn't a burden to people, but I was very vulnerable, and I didn't want to put myself in a position to where I had to try to explain what was going on to cops with my mouth wired shut. And I was under a lot of trauma. So I got introduced to them. They asked me, I met them east of the 405. They ended up meeting me, signing me up for services, and then asked me to meet them in Mar Vista. So I met them in Mar Vista. They signed me up for services again there. And then they're like, hey, would you stay in a hotel? And then I was like, yeah, of course. And they put me in a hotel in Santa Monica. Huh?
So you were homeless?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, like, that doesn't allow for abuse. And what happened is they signed me up for FS.
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just trying to put everything together because we're all over the place. Now, I see here that you mentioned that you're autistic.
Yeah, so what happened in the hotel in the city of Santa Monica, and the reason things went really bad, is first they tried to demand that while I was already enrolled in FSP with them, they tried to demand that I change my primary care provider. I told them that I did not want to do that because I was concerned it would affect my trauma claim on my mouth. They assured me it wouldn't. They made me switch my primary care, and that did indeed cause my trauma claim to close out in November of 2018. That's when I go off record from the county as being a client of theirs. They didn't disclose that to me. So I stayed in the hotel. They had me in a hotel that Public Health Department found me in January with an abscess looking like ET, with 89-degree hot water, no heater, a 3-inch open sewer line, and cockroaches running in between the glass on the door of the microwave. That infested. So it got cited, and St. Joseph's decided that they were going to kick me out of the hotel. I said, that's fine. I have a citation open with Public Health Department, and I will file a claim. I've been here for 120 days. I did that with the city of Santa Monica, and then suddenly, city of Santa Monica decided to tell me that my housing claim was being closed and that they found me an apartment. That's how I ended up there, at that apartment. I never even applied. And so the housing authority doesn't even actually have a contract for me to be there. So there's something very wrong with me even being at this place. I'm currently facing a whole bunch of criminal charges. And what it ended up finding out is somehow there's a stay away order on me in the vicinity of the place where I have a home, where I've been for a year. So they've been assaulting me, abusing me ridiculously. I don't have a housing authority thing. Something's very, very wrong. And there is no advocacy, no oversight or anything like that. So I have video of the staff member July 5th even taunting me, claiming that I'm supposed to be on medication, stalking me 3 blocks, and felony assaulting me. So things are really bad.
And what kind of medication? Is it for mental health?
Who's on medication? So that's what I'm saying. I'm not on medication. I'm not supposed to be on medication. Never been on medication. It's not somebody's... It's again, this is the issue with LA Can being in breach of HIPAA and in breach of the housing contracts anyway. And how would an employee of LA Can Network presume I was on medication at any point, or what is it his job to be disclosing that in public? It's not. And why is it okay that he assaults me? Not. Why is it okay that he's trying to instigate things against me in public by making the disparaging remarks about me? I don't know why my landlord allows neighbors in the neighborhood to be screeching, allowed me to be bitten by their dog on our property, while he is absolutely making disparaging remarks with me about me on film. I don't know why it's okay for him to assault me on video. I don't know why it's okay that they acknowledge they have a video of him pulling a gun on me on our property, but it hasn't been reported to police. I don't know why it's acceptable for people to presume that we live in unregulated asylums, and why I can't get police reporting in because Venice Community Housing lies to LAPD and says that they are my case management. Oh, really? Well, no, they're not, and they have no right to any HIPAA disclosure per the contracts to assure that we don't end up in asylums without advocates. And there's supposed to be 2 separate entities to assure that A, the landlord can't make allegations against us if they take us in and we're doing the programs we're supposed to, and the funding was there for the allocated programs in our case management, well, they can't just make allegations. It has to go through the housing authority. And also, we're supposed to be in safe and habitable environments. Now, the issue is the unit that I'm in, the last tenant died in a fire in May of 2018. They never got permits to rebuild it. Bigger issue is I pulled the historics from the city, and the city knew about it for minimally 2 years before the last tenant died. Now, Housing Authority and Code Enforcement found me in it in September of last year. Housing Authority itself has stated that I am in a life threat unit since January of this year, due to the fact there's not even smoke detectors in that unit. Now, you explain to me what I'm doing in something that dangerous. That's not acceptable. The only reason it happens is because we don't have any advocacy, because everybody thinks that we're all degenerate homeless people that do drugs. I'm autistic. I didn't have a support network. I honestly didn't even want the housing. Not that I'm okay with being homeless, but I didn't think it was appropriate for me. I feel that that's me being a burden on society. I needed help with supportive networks so that I could get back on my feet, and I felt safe in this society again so that I could mop a floor and wash dishes and be a contributing member of society as we're supposed to, and these programs are designed. But what ends up happening is it's proven in my contracts, and that's why the Housing Authority has not helped me out, as was proven July 25th of last year, when they disclosed to me that I needed to be moved, that the contracts that I had, they didn't understand how I was in the unit because they had been voided out weeks before I signed them, and that I needed to talk to my St. Joseph's workers and have me moved because the last tenant died in that unit and was murdered. Now, so I call St. Joseph's and I tell them that as I'm leaving Hacla July 25th of last year, resulting in no answer but me getting assaulted as I entered my building. And I tried to call LAPD 8 times in 5.5 hours and I got no response. So I called back communications. I was like, hey, is it cool if I call my social workers tomorrow and ask for help to report, because this is out of control. I'm bleeding and I can't get a response in 5.5 hours. I don't want to be rude to an officer and get arrested mistakenly. And they're like, that sounds smart. Call St. Joseph's. And what do? They're like, are you sure you want to report? I was like, absolutely. And they wait all day. So I call myself again, LAPD. I hear cops in the building. I'm like, hey guys, how's it going? And they almost tackled me down the stairs. They tried to put me on a hold that's of record rejected by the hospital. And it was because I was very calm, cognate, and like completely compliant, because I was cool with going on a hold, because I figured it's going to authorities at least, and these threats are going to stop. When the doctors came to talk to me, they asked me what was going on. I told them. They're like, that's not why you're here. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you've been accused of attempted homicide. I was like, excuse me? So my landlords accused me of chasing someone around with a weapon on our property, July of last year. They put me on the hold July 26th, claiming the incident had happened July 23rd. I looked at the doctors, I go, that's super serious. I hope that there's a police report, because just like I'm trying to say that I allege that I was a victim of assaults, I hope that anybody that's victimized like that, things are properly being abdicated by police. The doctors shot me home with no psych issue and not a community engagement issue. And of record with the hospital, Sufyan Kazgazi, who signed me up as an FSP worker for St. Joseph's, is talking to the hospital as a representative of Venice Community Housing, assuring them that he's my worker from there and that he's going to have things abdicated by the housing authority and have me move because they now understood that I did not feel safe at my home. Now that didn't happen, and that's the reason I don't have a bathroom door in September. Because the same dude lived 3 doors down from me, was high on meth continually, and barged in my room, and I demanded I stab him while he trashed my apartment on video, and I thought better of it, and I barricaded myself in my bathroom, and he rams my bathroom door off September 10th on video. Oh, that's 2 days after code enforcement got alerted. So I have video of February 25th even of that same guy, because he had actually gotten evicted February 8th. They dirty evicted him through the courts instead of housing authority, but they let him stay on the property. February 25th, I have him on video in front of staff, threatening my life. The second he finds me off the property, he's going to harm me. In front of staff. Funny thing is that, all these code enforcement things that have been open for over a year with HCIDLA, and it's a super of record. They tried to start an eviction on me, retaliatory, when they couldn't comply. They couldn't comply with any of their things, so that they filed a retaliatory eviction, not notifying the housing authority. No, they've told the courts that I somehow rent a normal apartment at $1,300 a month. So they filed a fraudulent civil case. And yeah, like I said, somehow because it's Carol Sobel and George Ellis, who is the ADA coordinator for LA Superior Courts, is well aware of me and the issues that are going on, because I filed an ADA request asking that my case management, as provided by my contract, was brought to the courts. Instead, they tried to bring Department of Mental Health. Department of Mental Health filed 2 concurrent cases against me, trying to go for outpatient treatment therapy. Why'd they file 2? Because I filed the first one. I found out, I caught them. They were trying to claim that I live in an encampment on Venice and Sawtelle. They didn't want to acknowledge that they were coming to my home. Now that was post after they had started the eviction that's failed out, that's still ongoing. And so then again, when I got assaulted by this LA CAN network worker, somehow LAWA, LA World Airports officers, have again gotten that case. LA World Airports police, they're the ones that are charging me for contempt of court. Anytime I engage with police officers or I make any code enforcement complaint from that property, I'm in violation, because apparently there's a stay-away order from me at my own apartment. So I'm in a lot of danger because of who Carol Sobel is and Mike Bonin. Mike Bonin, as Mr. Alvarez knows and has documentation, has acknowledged since December of last year having videos of me getting assaulted, domestic violence at the property, and insane amount of drug use. Mike Bonin's lost 2 field deputies because they've quit after witnessing what he is allowing to have happen to me. So the last filing by Venice Community Housings with this eviction here, they tried to say that yet again they're in fear that I'm a threat to everybody's life. I might kill them at any moment. That means that they are breaching 12 other disabled people's rights and programs at that building because they don't know how to abdicate things through the housing authority. And they've done it for nearly a year since they filed in October claiming these kind of violent allegations against me. They've tried to make allegations of rape, everything else. They don't file with LAPD. They get to file with an officer from lawa who is working as a loaner officer at a LAPD. Now, George Ellis and Miriam Doctor, who's the admin for the Santa Monica Courthouse, she knows me very, very well. Why does she know me very, very well? Because she knows that I caught them actually in breach of my rights with their clerks disclosing things of privacy to people that I have restraining orders with. They actually falsified my registry repeatedly. The public health department has a fraudulent eviction that was issued in February, yet I'm still having hearings about an eviction. That's because Carol Sobel, being that she's the president of the National Lawyers Guild, and she merged, LA County Bar and Long Beach Bar, that's why all these ludicrous filings are passing through the courts, because she causes conflict with interest with any lawyer that comes to defend her, unless she chooses them not to. I have video documentation, she knowing that I'm being assaulted here. I have email exchanges between her and a Rand Corp employee discussing me getting assaulted at these properties. And her response was, oh, well, I'm not really on the board. I'm just on some advisory board. Well, you're an ACLU big shot lawyer. You should be super concerned that I have email exchanges between her and the public, who happens to be a Rand Corporation employee, and that same employee contacted Nissa Cove when she was elected official for Venice Neighborhood Council prior to her replacing Morgan, who left because of what Mike Bonin was doing to me, and now sits in Mike Bonin's office. So I have the email exchanges from her in November acknowledging knowing that I was being assaulted. I have Allison Whitman, the last field representative that left, in December assuring me that she was sending police officers to take a report because she was witnessing these threats and assaults. So now, Department of Mental Health has learned the hard way by a judge that they can't see me in a courtroom again, because the judge realized that they didn't want to have anything come out in open hearing, because they were trying to impose counsel on me and they were trying to impose public defender's office. Well, that doesn't work because somehow I got conflicted out on public defender's office due to these extortive, fraudulent criminal charges. That went so bad that the clerk's office tried to defraud registry, the judge, and my rights, and claimed that I was a no appearance after I got a telephonic hearing because I was COVID self-quarantined from getting bitten by Matt Fisher. Now I have plenty of documentation of my engagements with a lot of senior code inspection and enforcement people. The reason is because I'm not normal. I'm autistic. I got communication issues. Far from stupid. I happen to be very, very reputable in a very, very unique sector. And what that is I build art monuments.
I'm sorry.
I build art monuments and they're trying to assault and harm me because, because they're trying to hide this.
Sir, I'm gonna terminate the call if you don't allow me. I know you've given me a bunch of information at this time, and you have provided so sorry that you are going through this situation. Now, you do you have worked with different agencies, and it seems like all these agencies haven't worked out for you. Now, are you linked up with any caseworkers?
So that's the issue at hand. This is the issue because they're dual-rolled employees. No, I've been abandoned since July of last year. Those are the same people that are causing me the problems. So I haven't had any issues where people have failed me. No, the issue is that standing, they acknowledge what's going on. Like, I literally, there's nothing else I can do. No one just wants to take the steps as first reporters to do what they're supposed to do. Now, my caseworker, her name is Bridget Bell, supposedly.
From where?
She works at both St. Joseph's and Venice Community Housing. But unfortunately, Venice Community Housing... Huh? Bridget Bell.
What is her name?
Bridget Bell? Bell? Yeah. But unfortunately, the issue being is that the contract that I have signed, the one that hacla told me last year, was not any good. It had been voided out weeks before it was presented to me to be signed, and I needed to be moved. Well, she's the signatory on that. And that contract makes clear that the program provider and case management can have nothing to do with the unit. That's why they have me signed up with St. Joseph's. And my case management and workers are supposed to be Sufyan Kazgazi and Stacy Burmaster. Now, they signed up as agents and representatives of St. Joseph's. Now, in the eviction that they filed in the courts October 30th, that's ongoing, and just like they had told Harbor UCLA July 27th of last year, they both claim that they're agents and representatives of Venice Community Housing. So there's the conflict of interest. That's why I don't have any services or case management. That's why not only I'm at threat, I had started an Adult Protective Services complaint in April for another tenant in our building because I had to try to take care of him during COVID, and he had just returned to the property after he had had a pacemaker and 2 major eye surgeries for cataracts and glaucoma. And they just abandoned him. Well, Adult Protective Services never engaged with him. Apparently, Venice Community Housing told him that the guy was at home when he was at a different facility, and that I was harassing him and that he didn't want to engage. Well, I got a letter from his sister a week ago. He's now being held in a private facility in the Pacific Palisades. He's being tormented, not knowing if he's going to be allowed back into his apartment, because he tried to commit suicide. Now, the guy that died in my unit in that arson fire, he tried to hang himself 2 months prior. And it was never abdicated appropriately because Venice Community Housing is not an authorized provider of any programs. There's been 3 other successful suicides and an OD death in the last 3 years on that property, and there's only 13 apartments. Now, the county is known that are cited many illegal units. The unit that I am in is cited currently actively as illegal, pending to get into case management and REAP, and they have somehow put that off for 11 months. That has a lot of people's lives at stake because they're continuing to get more funding. That had me at stake because the last person that died in that unit, they knew it was illegal when they found the dead body. That's why Carol and lacanetwork sued the public health department to assure that all death records are destroyed within a year. That's to hide Alan's death. Problem is they didn't get permits or get the unit up to any code, and they put me in there.
Have you ever contacted the Department of Fair Housing?
Oh, yeah.
Through the state?
Oh, yeah.
Are they involved in any of this?
No, because I have no contracts. No one knows what to do because it's Carol Sobel.
Okay, so my next question, are you linked with the regional center?
No.
No? Okay.
Like, none of this is ever, I don't know, like, I'm not trying, I apologize. I don't mean to be, I do need to apologize to you. I need to apologize for you a second, real quick here. I apologize for my upset deflecting at you. You've been very professional, so I'm absolutely in the wrong, and I do not mean for that to be continuing to come your way. But this is how insane this is like, yeah, literally, I've had no services because they, literally, what ended up happening is I never should have been in that unit. They haven't been receiving a voucher for me being in that unit because the housing authority never had a contract that was valid with me. So why am I there since May of last year? And all that's happened is they keep racking me up with all these criminal crazy charges because I don't have an advocate. And it's only been because I was reporting. it's not cool that they have people, you know, like I said, my code enforcement thing, like literally, I have LADBS has acknowledged, okay, I have it, them acknowledging Venice Community Housing defrauded already $14 million in HHH brick and mortar because they found their illegal office in my building in September. Along with everything else that's all bad. They built an illegal office to try to comply with across the street and they got $14 million grant. They continue to say that there's no problems at any of their properties, so they're getting fast-tracked for all of this housing. Problem is, it's very not safe. Fact of the matter is let's put it this way. Let's say that I'm everything that they allege against me. Problem is they're not keeping their programs, and so that they then have 12 other disabled people. Now, I'm cognate. I had my mouth wired shut. It was atrophied. That was their bummer. They decided to just make up stuff and they didn't get my history or my records. And so, whoops, they got someone that's super cognitive that understands code enforcement. And so what happened is that the bridge tent, they don't have any valid permitting. That's why when COVID hit, they had to drop the occupancy. So now they're knowingly just using us for money. What happens with my contract, the reason I don't have case management is, well, because they use St. Joseph's name as the other agency, they're fulfilling their own credentials for Venice Community Housing. That's why St. Joseph's, a countywide agency, only has a salary budget of $1 million. I don't know how many people they're providing services for. But yeah, in Venice, they're claiming 1,400 homeless people because they control all our mail illegally, going to a commercial building that we can't have access. But, when you look at Venice Community Housing, well, they only have 236 apartments. They're landlords and landlords only. They are only entitled to rent. Per contract. HIPAA. Insulated. Cannot provide programs. $32 million budget. $9 million net positive at the end of the year. After a $4.5 million speculatory buy on a commercial property. Before they drafted AB 1197 that would allow them to convert it to residential, which is now up for consideration as a SPY development. So, yeah, the problem is that they're using our program money that's allocated for me to have a case manager, for me to have case programs or whatever the feds are funding. They're misappropriating that money and doing land buys.
For a minute, sir.
Have
you seeked any legal assistance, like a disability rights?
Well, so that's the problem with Carol Sobel.
Like legal agency.
Yeah, no, that's the problem with Carol Sobel. So if you look at any legal agency that's around here, you look at Legal Aid Foundation. Guess who founded it? Carol. Guess who has 6 members on their board of directors? LA Can Network is on their board of directors. LA Can Network is absolutely about on everybody's board of directors. I've found that I end up being in conflict with the public defender's office because of Carol Sobel. I conflict out with Bar, LA, because Carol Sobel merged LA Bar and Long Beach Bar. That's why she does these garbage filings destroying our streets, because her position allows her, and she's the first to file, she can conflict out anybody she wants to. So there is no legal aid for me to be getting access to. The problem is what needs to happen is that first reporters need to report what's being witnessed. So Mr. Alvarez has documentation and video and has intentionally put off reporting in hopes that I was going to be detained. Literally, I beat out 2 attempts to have me detained because the clerk's office of record, I literally record the clerks defraud the judge and me, saying that I didn't appear when I did a telephonic. So I had a warrant, a hold warrant for over 80 criminal charges. Counts of contempt of court.
Sobel is an attorney, or who is?
Yeah,
she's an attorney.
Yeah, no, her history is that she is a very, very well-known civil rights attorney, apparently. She used to be with the ACLU. But yeah, no, she's like, if you look at any of these filings, like right now, currently, they're very proud that LA Can Network and Carol Sobel just filed against LAPD again. and they're hoping for the largest civil reward ever, trying to hit them up for $12,000 for every protester that was detained. So she files first, and she doesn't file as a member of any other entity. She always files as her own self. She's even in that federal case with Judge Carter about people living next to the freeways. And she always goes in as herself. She's the first person to file. So she controls whoever can defend her, because she literally, being the president of the National Lawyers Guild, she literally goes, yeah, no, you don't get to defend. I have a conflict. So that's why all this stuff's going that super bad in the streets. And what's really foul is she should have no fiscal interest in any development agency. And she's very upset that it's been found out because, well, I documented her getting her grandson painted on the mural in front. And that they slipped. She's not supposed to have any association with these agencies because they're fiscally benefiting tremendously. While we don't, I'll be honest with you, I've been homeless homeless. I grew up in the Pacific Palisades. I'm an Eagle Scout. I grew up with a very, very bad family situation. And so at a point, I did very well for myself, but I am disabled. And at a point, things went bad. And it's very hard to get back on your feet here in LA, especially when you're disabled. And I never thought that anything what's going on in these residential streets is anything close to acceptable. I never did that. I went and put myself over in an industrial area. I was over by the art foundry where I was working because I don't want kids to see that. It never helped me out for other people to witness me struggle. That harmed me. I don't think it's okay for people to be doing this in the residential areas because why would you burden other people with things that you wouldn't want or accept? Now, there are drug addict lowlifes that think that that's okay. I'm not one of them. I only came up to the west side because I tried to save a cashier in a store. I managed to shut him into the bulletproof glass booth. And I got my face stomped in. And because it's Gardena, and I look white. I'm mixed race. My mom's Korean and Native American, but I'm pretty white. Cops saw me. They presumed and wrote this up as mutual combat outside of the store over a drug deal gone bad and closed out the case before my surgery was done. I tried to talk with the officers about it, and I was like, yo, I have literally a recording of your 911 calling me back. Because they were making fun of me because I tried to talk with my jaw in 5 pieces. Telling me that my jaw couldn't be broken. That I don't know what I'm talking about. Must be dislocated, making fun of how I sounded. Not understanding that, I literally don't have anybody else. So I'll talk with my jaw flapping because I needed somebody to get there to help me out because my jaw was shattered. It was severed under the mandible, split in the front, and blown out. And I tried to explain that I got the video of it happening to me. The detectives, because they had done a faulty report. Well, they ended up telling me I needed to move because I was a threat to be harmed if the assailant found me. So I had to move away from the only contact that I had, and I was dealing with the Department of Mental Health there as a therapist. And I'd seen someone proactively for years because I don't have a support network. And I had to move. Now, coming up here to see what was going on in Venice, I wanted no part of it. Because I tried to go to a shelter one time, they put me in a room with 300 dudes. The only rule is you can't do drugs inside. It was the most unhealthy, disturbed place ever with no resources to better yourself. No one will allow you to try to better yourself. This is an industry.
I'm so sorry, yeah.
But I mean,
But are you currently in Venice?
Yes.
So you're living in Venice right now?
Yeah.
In the city of Venice today?
Yeah, I'm running. I'm hiding. I'm hiding from my own home.
Wow.
But like that's how bad of we don't have resources. Honestly, it's terrifying. It's like I have.
I know that you mentioned on the report that you were up north staying with your mother. You wouldn't be able to live with your mother?
No. And that's not even an acceptable solution for someone getting assaulted that's in contract for all of this. My mom happens to be the party that I had restraining orders between us. She came down because she knows that my life's at threat. She came down because she knows my life's at threat. She came down to see me. She came down because She came down. A civil issue? Me being assaulted is not a civil issue. Me not being safe in my home, under threat from my landlord, is not a civil issue.
No, not that. I'm saying legal advice, so they can provide you legal advice because of all the threats and everything you've been through.
Yeah, I just...
What your rights are.
Yeah, the thing is as first reporters, like I said, Mr. Alvarez, he knows I'm physically not safe. That's his job. His job is to actually report that. It's not mine as a disabled person to try to figure out how to crawl out. I've dealt with the bombsmen at Hacla know this. They've been dealing with this. They literally are hoping that I get detained because they, as they said, if it's proven that this is what's going on, neither agency can participate in programs, voucher programs. So they're willing to sacrifice me as an individual for the greater good. So there's no legal, you know what I mean? As far as it being, it's not acceptable that Venice Community Housing and LA CAN Network are allowing their staff and tenants to continue to threaten me so that I can't get to my home. That I have to have someone that had a restraining order against me is so concerned for my life, they come down and get me out of that situation temporarily. Because trust me and that person don't get along very good. That's why there was a restraining order. So that's not a workable solution. And that's why I'm supposed to have case management. And we need to figure out how it's acceptable that someone that is enrolled has his contracts. How am I floating out in the middle of nowhere with no contacts? City of Santa Monica was involved with this and knew about all this up through February. They researched it. They found who, according to the records, my housing went back to Bridget Bell, but yeah, before January, I didn't have any records of being nothing. The actual DPSS, they thought I was living in the street the whole time. They never knew I had an apartment. If I have the Department of Mental Health court and literally, administration willing to try to defraud the courtrooms, claiming that they're coming to see me in encampment, when I have videotape of them at my door, when I have videotape of them interacting with my landlord, even a week after I was assaulted, that I have video of them watching me be threatened? Yeah, no, that's serious hate crimes. You know what I'm saying? This is not okay that a disabled person is being tormented like this. They clearly want to cause self-harm. Now, I don't got a psych issue needing me to get to any critical position. And it's, again, not acceptable that I document them trying to subject me to that. Department of Mental Health knows that they can't come near me because of religious cause. Legit. The judge acknowledged it. They also acknowledged it because they didn't want to have to answer how did they have 2 open Department 90 outpatient treatment claims against me. That's because the first file was so dirty that they tried to file a second one. It's not okay that I have the public defender's office still of record representing me in one of those hearings that has not been resolved. The other one, they tried to defraud me, claiming it wasn't public counsel. And the reason that they had to do that is because the criminal case, public defender's office has claimed that they had to conflict out on me. And they've tried to press me for nearly a year. Where I even record the counsel that was appointed to me who conflicted out at the beginning of this last week. Because, again, the courts tried to claim that I didn't appear when I document I appeared. Well, yeah, no, he tried to demand that I actually abandon my home and program services, or he was going to not provide me a legal defense. Again, the legal issue at hand here is somehow people are claiming that there is a stay away order against me. I live in supportive housing for disabled people. I'm autistic. I have communication issues. I'm not stupid. But yeah, no, it's a huge issue that I've got both LAPD and LA World Airport's internal affairs offices acknowledging that they can't explain what's going on, and I have no restraining order for me to be even violating, nor why I get criminally charged for reporting my bicycle being stolen from my home. I don't know why they're able to get criminal counts against me because allegedly my case managers say that I threatened to kill them in July of last year. I don't know why I'm facing anything criminal or why myself is either being subjected to these conditions that I say. And if not so, I don't know why the 12 other seriously disabled people would be subjected to the allegations that they're making against me. So that would be hate and discrimination right there, either against me or against all of the other tenants in the building, because they are not doing their jobs as they're supposed to, and they are acting like we are in asylums that are unregulated with zero authority or right to. They're in breach of the federal contracts by doing it, and they're putting lives at threat. Because I've had no case management, because they didn't tell programs or anything like that, or have it adjudicated appropriately. Yeah, no, they've had that. My mom knew that, like, yeah, she was super concerned. She couldn't figure out what's going on because she thought I was suicidal at points because I was so scared. But then she saw the videos of me actually physically getting assaulted.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you some agencies that you can talk to. I have a housing advocacy group, and I'm going to send all this